It's Flippin Freedom Podcast, live from Chicago on this Fire Friday. It is officially May. The weather's heating up, and that means summer and your freedom are getting closer by the day. I'm your host, Arpan Patel, real estate investor coach, full-time operator, helping you build the freedom life one deal at a time, one mind shift at a time, one smart move at a time. The Flippin Freedom Podcast is where we talk about real estate, flipping, building your business, owning your future with courage and strategy. Each episode, we bring in a professional with real stories, from investors to builders to coaches, creators, people with smart systems, uncommon mindsets, and bold lessons you can actually use to level up. Today, we have Elisabeth Derksen. She checks all those boxes and more. Elisabeth Derksen is a powerhouse mompreneur, the founder of Infinite Bookkeeping, and a no-fluff abundance mindset coach based in Kelowna, British Columbia. She built her business when her baby was just 8 months old, and she since then has helped entrepreneurs all across Canada find clarity, organize their numbers, and grow with confidence. But beyond the spreadsheets, she's helping people shift the way they see money, business, and worth, coaching them through limiting beliefs and into alignment with gratitude, power, and purpose. We're stoked to have her in the booth today. Elisabeth, welcome to the pod. How are you?
Thank you, Arpan. It's a pleasure. I'm doing absolutely brilliant and bright.
All right, great. And let's start how we always get the show started. How'd you get here?
How do I get to the show? Arpan and I, we connected on Instagram after we saw each other in the Elite program. We're in the Elite program, both coached by Dan Martell, and just leveling up to our own next level. So it was like 2012, 2013 when I laid eyes on Kelowna for the first time. I thought to myself, wow, how is this Canada? It's like hot, beautiful. But then I was also in the mindset of like, wow, this is way out of my league. I'll only appear here on my vacations or my 2 weeks that I get vacation from my employer, right? Then 2019 hit, and I kind of hit my darkest time in my life where I just left a relationship that no longer served me. So I packed up my baby and was in a transitional home for a bit. And there I sat down and I had this moment of epiphany, asking myself, Elisabeth, what do you truly want? And Kelowna was always on the back burner. And so I sat down, I made a 1-year goal, and I plastered things on my vision board. Even June 2020, I'll be in Kelowna. And sure enough, my vision became my reality. I did not know anybody here, but my number one thing was find people who are in constant growing stages of their life, and just with the belief that everything will happen for me because this is a very special place to my heart.
Very cool. So you had visited and you were like, I don't know if I'll ever get there, but wouldn't it be so cool? Let me just put on my vision board. And then X amount of time later, you're like, I'm just going to do this. Just put the baby in the van, drive around, maybe we'll get there, right? Kind of deal, something like that.
It was honestly not even putting the baby in the van. It was trying to find somebody now to bring us there, because I didn't want to deal with out-of-province inspections. The vehicle had history with attachments, so I was just in this mode of non-attachment, going through non-attachment things. And I asked family, I asked friends, can you move us? And there were so many no's, Arpan. And then I just took the courage. I went up to one of my friends and I said, I will be paying for your gas. You will move us, drive us to Kelowna. And sure enough, she loved the idea of coming here. She stayed with me for a week. I paid for her meals and her gas. And my heart is just beyond grateful that she made that happen for us.
I mean, that's clutch right there.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you find yourself there, right? And then one thing kind of leads to another, and then somehow you end up in Martell's group. Like, how'd you get in the program?
Yeah, so actually I ended up here 2020. It was a big risk. It was COVID, right? Everything was shut down. But Arpan, I said in my mind, I said, if I end up dying because of this pandemic, I want to die in the place I always dreamt of living. And then over the years, I was just in different programs, just leveling up one thing after the next. And I actually got to know Dan for the first time at a startup grind event. He was speaking there. And then later on, I knew I had to get into his proximity because he was doing something that I had a vision for. And from all the people in my life, Dan was a first person that spoke my vision before me mentioning it. When I saw him one of the next times on the founder's hike, I was taken aback a bit. I remember going home and I was like super emotional because the words he said was like, Elisabeth, the world deserves to see you and everything that you're creating. And I was like, oh my God, like there's actually another person that does believe in what I want to put out there and all this. And seeing how far he's come and what he's put out into the world, it was just so assuring that, yeah, I can do this. Like somebody else got this, somebody else sees this, I can do it. And then that was on the founder's hike. And then I was like, okay, I need to surround myself with a community more, because I found myself in constant settings where I brought the ideas, I brought the innovation, and I would go home, sure, excited about it, but I didn't feel propelled by anyone. Yet every Wednesday or Tuesday, when we have our calls, you just get this energetic high of like, wow, I have so much further to go. Would you agree?
Like that's probably the biggest shift for me was the way he thinks, the way he moves, right? The way he kind of disseminates that, like that's more than any tactical or strategy thing. It's just been like that, what you said, like you use word energy, right? Like I think of more of like a mindset or like a way of distributing that, right? In like a like kind of like a frequency, but same kind of idea.
Yeah.
So what's been the biggest shift you had then from, I mean, you met him on the hike in 2020. Yeah, he only launched the thing, I think like two years ago, right? So like you kind of been knowing him for a little while and then you joined this thing. Like what kind of led you down that path?
I just needed the pull from somebody that I knew is where I wanted to get. Proximity is something not enough talked about, but it creates magic when you are in front of someone that has already created or done something that you truly believe in your mind. And to have that versus sharing your ideas or something with someone else who are doubting you, like your frequency is just elevated consistently. When you ask what has shifted for me, it is definitely the quick implementation. Something I love that he speaks about is you're inspired, take action. And just over this last little while, a few things that I've implemented that have made a massive shift for myself, for my company, is hire slow, fire fast.
Okay.
And finesse. Like he speaks a lot about systems. And I've just gone deep dive into not finessing the systems myself, but really speaking to my team the way how he educates us on, okay, the team comes with a question, let them show up with 3 suggestions and you pick one. You do not do the work and push it back to them. And one thing that I also add there is on like a next team huddle, I then have them demonstrate in front of the entire team how they've implemented that change. So it's become such a due diligence that either if a mistake happens or something that is not as efficient as we wanted, we now sit as a collective for the team to see and demonstrate how one works, to either now do we implement AI or is this just a hyperlink that we need to attach in the CRM that was missing? So it has made massive changes in those 2 areas for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned, so the 131 has been really big for you, right? And the systems and stuff, but also before that was the pull. Like it's almost like there's a tugboat and it's kind of pulling you forward. Maybe like an eddy current, like it kind of moves and you move in its wake. Is that kind of the thing you're going for there?
I mean, if you're going to speak wake surfing to me, I'm all on that wave. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, but true, that analogy, right? I mean, you catch that wave, you will do anything possible to maintain that high. You become one with the water, like you become one with this frequency, right? So it like when you start, I wouldn't say doubting, but if obstacles come in your way, you really sit in momentum. I at least do, of like, okay, if I have my coach here right now, what is that he would say? You don't necessarily wait till that next Wednesday call to have that conversation. you have that on consistent whenever something shows up in your life that you might not be
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so going into kind of like your abundance mindset and stuff like that, just generally, can you give a quick synopsis of what you think is abundance mindset?
Yeah, abundance mindset is really the awareness, the expansion of awareness that how humanity thinks, how humanity receives. And really, so what I do is I work with people that gets them out of that lack, that scarcity, and into their belief, you know, collaborating on their vision and heightening the energy behind that vision to make them believe it. Like just recently, I had a client show up and they're like, yeah, I see that vision for other people, but I don't see that for myself. So it's really working with what is it actually deep rooted beliefs within you that we can shift, not transmute because then they'll show up again, but that we can shift that you are deserving of this too.
So what's between shift and transmute? I don't
Okay.
quite understand.
Question. Yeah. Transmute is if something is showing up, let's say you're doubting yourself or you have the thought of like, oh, I'm not worth of this, that you just like shut it down and you go about your day. You don't sit with that, right? Whereas shifting, you can look at why am I not doubting myself? Where did I first maybe have or when's the last time before this moment that I also didn't doubt, that I also doubted myself? And what actually happened, the result of it? Most likely, I didn't receive the abundance out of it that I was receiving. Maybe it was, in front of a prospect and I was doubting myself. So obviously, I didn't land that client. So then reversing it to see where, and it most likely occurs that maybe somebody else had appeared in your life where they didn't believe in you and you chose to believe that from then on out. So it's really dissecting where in your lifeline have you started to believe in yourself that you are not deserving. So then we work with the shift of it to translate it into that, hey, you are actually deserving of this. Who do you need in your life to tell you that they're proud of you? And then most often it's deep rooted, maybe family, maybe a teacher, something can come up. And if that comes out, let's say if it's a teacher, we then shift it with light energy, with abundance energy. And it's like, we know that teacher went through something as well. What can we gift them energetically right now to gift yourself that shift back that you are deserving for the rest of your life? So that's usually in those moments where then anyone going through an abundance mindset session, they'll experience the breakthrough. It's received usually with like a deep breath, drop shoulders. It's like, oh my God, I wish I would have realized this sooner.
Yeah, a lot of people just kind of get in their own way in past events. And like you said, it doesn't have to be parents all the time. It could be your teachers or teammates, whatever. And so that's a little bit of some abundance mindset, where it comes from, and right. So you call yourself an abundance coach. Like, how do you approach things a little bit different than maybe the average like mindset or life coach?
It's when you speak to me with a vision, I will help you expand it. So a lot of the time, people, they perceive visions, they can talk about what the other person is just saying, but then there is also parts to it that you can receive from me that you have not seen yet, which will make it more to your reality. And then we create a map to actually how you can get there.
Okay. So like what's like an example of something that we could maybe like a general thing that we could all do today to kind of live more like in that framework?
It's noticing when you awake. A lot of the times, especially entrepreneurs, we're prone to like the alarm rings, get up, jump out of bed, start the routine, and just get into that mode of productivity. Take a moment, maybe 3 minutes, and when you are aware of your eyes opening, give yourself that luxury to hold them closed for a little while longer. And then with intention, open up your eyes and be aware of, wow, I get another day. I get another day to see in color. And start attuning your day in this abundance frequency. You're creating so much awareness with your senses at the beginning of the day so that even when you step foot on the ground, you become very aware that, and you want to become so aware at the beginning, because when those negative thoughts or beliefs come in, you now have the possibility to notice more and then work with those shifts that we spoke about earlier.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So just as simple as just notice that you are awake for a few minutes and just kind of be like, I exist.
Yeah. And another simple one is at the end of the day, because we always have control over the beginning of the day and the end of the day. What happens in between? It will be so many surprises, right? Like the scene behind you with a red car right now. I had no idea at the beginning of my day that I will be noticing a red car on this call, right? But specifically beginning and end of the day, you have complete control over it. So why not curate to how you want to feel, how you want to retire at the end of the day, and how you want to start the end of the day. So that noticing is super important. It's like you're refilling your cup with where you've poured out on.
Okay, cool. And then on the flip side, like, do you think most people are just not aware of the fact that like they kind of have control of the situation, or that they can notice things or be a certain place or that kind of thing? Like, are you seeing that?
It's a good question. You said something earlier and I think it could be also just in the English language, people tend to get in their way. And instead of just, saying people tend to get in their way, I would love to question, are we sure that they're actually getting in their way, or do they know they are aware? Are they aware of their surroundings? I used to be in a time where I was driving in traffic 40 minutes per day, rushing to work. I was not aware, Arpan. Nowadays, we get to work remote. If I'm in traffic, oh my God, what a luxury. I noticed a tree I didn't notice before. I try to smile and dance in my car so that the neighbor of the car driving past me realizes that they can do this too. And what a luxury if I get to meet at least another person dancing in their car. That, yes, we're on the same frequency. We are sitting in a vehicle that gets us from point A to point B. What is this? Traffic jam. It's like you have so much wealth that you didn't walk here to where you're sitting right now. Yet you're maybe like taking that time to like feel annoyed about it. And that, to your question, it's in those moments, yes, people are not aware.
There's this Insta I follow. It's a guy he's a comedian, professional. He'll roll up in his car. He'll kind of do one of these to have him roll down their window. And he'll just say basically like fun or like cheesy pickup lines or, just whatever, just to have a little fun. He just gets them going. He's like, I forget one of the ones, like I was just watching it the other day. It's like Steve Nasser, I think. I think that's his name. He's just so funny in the car, and he just cracks himself up, cracks everyone else up in the way, and just drives off, hands that out to everybody. So yeah, I thought that was super cool. Kind of way of approaching that,
Yeah.
So now that's your kind of abundance mindset and a little bit of how you see things, right? Now let's talk a little bit more about like your actual business, right? You obviously do bookkeeping, you have this coaching, right? You do a bunch of things. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about like what you do and like a little more tactical about how you actually spend your day and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Okay, I'll start with my day. So we briefly started up how one can wake up with the abundance little practice. So that is one of the ones that I really enjoy. And then it's a 20-minute yoga beneath the sunrise, yoga or core. I really love to listen to my body and what it needs in that moment with aligned frequencies. It could be binaural beats. It could be, maybe in the moment you're feeling more romantic, but not like a dinner lit kind of date. And you play the frequencies that attune to those feelings. So after yoga, it's just meditation, and then it's either journaling or reading something that is of inspiration or in the direction I want to go. So then I am followed with a hour of creation. anything that comes to mind, I either write about it or I put into my innovative spreadsheet of this is coming to my thoughts right now. And I keep an innovation spreadsheet of this needs to be executed. I always think that, God, the universe created this earth, but at the same time, we get these creative downloads because he's helping us or he's asking us to help continue to create on this earth. So I think it's a gift to now write that down and see how that can come into execution. And so till 7 o'clock, I'll do a deep dive on that. And then I step into mom mode, wake up my kiddo and watch him make his lunch, watch him make our breakfast, and we share our breakfast together. And lately we've been watching like the hockey games, the highlights from the day before. And yeah, just be in the zone of watching him grow up and watching him ask questions or his curiosity, really zone in and be present for mom mode. And then we drive off to school. We do the carpool or school drop off karaoke, loving that. And then it's back to my laptop, to my desk, and I will actually contact people in my DMs, which is part of the 5 daily non-negotiable. Yes, this is what we got from Elite. And then I'm off to my day, checking with the team, seeing what everybody is up to, fixing anything that's come up that needs immediate attention, and just implementing and overseeing and curating further efficiencies where possible. And then also learning on the go with either something that Dan, our coach, has implemented or has shared that I can now implement. One is actually right here, try to land 2 podcasts a week and put that into my day as well. And just working further to grow the brand currently. The team is very supportive when it comes to Infinite Bookkeeping, the business side, and we'll collaborate throughout the day. And then when 2:30 hits, I go pick up my kiddo from school, and he'll either have soccer practice or he is a mini entrepreneur already where he sells his lemonade and art and beatboxing. So today after school, we're trying to buy a generator that plugs in his beatbox mic so he doesn't have to plug into a building. So we're even looking at efficiencies for him. But something he's been on me for, he goes, Mama, did you get the terminal? Because we're missing out on a lot for people that want to pay by Apple Pay and stuff. So that's on its way now too.
Okay, cool.
Welcome to my day.
Okay, yeah, a lot of family time. Got your workout in the morning. Got your other non-negotiables there in the afternoon. So if you're gonna talk to someone about like, that's kind of a great life, right? You spend a lot of quality time with your son. You're working on the business, right? Versus in it. It sounds like. What advice would you give someone trying to like build their financial freedom, but like kind of still second guessing every decision? What would you tell that person?
Let's put more visual to this example. Would you say that they already have their business, or is this somebody that just wants more finances in their life? Like what example are we wanting to use here?
Yeah, so why not both? Let's start with either one you want.
So somebody that's just listening to this call, still on, working for somebody, and they're like, I want to get ahead. I don't know anything about money, but I do want to save up or invest or build something. I would highly recommend read the book, The Compound Effect. And within there, it talks about tracking. And with anything that you want to become good at, you track. So daily, your finances, plug them into a spreadsheet. You right now don't need QuickBooks. You don't need anything else. Just every transaction you plug it in. Then on a weekly basis, go over and ask yourself, was that a necessity? So that's where you start becoming smart and aware of your money. Now, if you're already into your business, a lot of solopreneurs, they will run their business a day, but then at the end of the day, go and work on their books. And this is something that they're not passionate about. So my advice to that is tune into what really aligns with your energy. If at the day end, you're like scanning receipts and trying to categorize and unsure of that, you could have somebody else, like our bookkeeping firm, do that for you for probably half the output of your cost, or depending on your industry, obviously, right? So start to delegate in those moments, and then just your financials obviously are going to be produced. So you do the same tactic on reviewing your financials and then get in touch with a wealth manager and invest in the things that you're passionate about. It could be building your personal brand, it could be real estate, whatever.
Okay, so first, track your money, know what's coming in and out, and then see what is necessary and what is not. That seems like step one. And then step two would be like, okay, then figure out what to do with the money that you've now like freed up. So delete first so that you have a surplus, and then figure out what to do with the surplus. Is that kind of the idea?
Absolutely. But before the deletion also comes discipline. Most people that are living paycheck to paycheck, they've already spent their money or their paycheck in their mind before it's hit their bank account, right? So if you're not tracking, and if you have that concept of like, oh, I'm going to buy this and this, like perfect consumer type, you need to work on that discipline first. And if you're working on that discipline, translate that in all areas of your life. Most likely you won't have a morning routine. Most likely you're not hitting the gym. So it correlates with everywhere. Something we do with Infinite Bookkeeping is as we look at the financials, we'll start to notice where you are energetically within your business, which gives us the opportunity to ask you questions about your lifestyle. So if I notice payroll is out of whack and I come to you and I can say, hey, Arpan, how's your staff? Most likely you'll start to complain, or you'll share with me something that something's gone wrong, right? But most bookkeepers, they will present you the financials and you kind of like have to dissect and see where you want to go from there. But if you can have somebody, once you're at that stage, to share with you feedback of like, hey, what's actually happening behind the scenes? Let's talk about it. Let's shift or eliminate if needed. That will propel you even further.
So kind of have someone involved on that side who has an idea, who can look at it and be like, yo, these are the patterns that I'm noticing. Something like that.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I know you had kind of, I'm in real estate, right? So got to ask, right? I know you had mentioned maybe that you had some property and stuff.
Yeah. So for me was when I first moved to Kelowna, I knew it was a very like high demand when it comes to Airbnb. So I knew I was going to be purchasing a property that is Airbnb because I do love to travel as well. So the first little while was if I'm not there, actually back up very, very early. I started from scratch. Okay. So when I got my first property, I had a tent that I got for $30 and my son asked to go camping. We went camping. I paid maybe $10 for the nightly stay, and guests were demanding to rent our condo at the time at $555 a night. You know, that was the first time that I had the feeling of, wow, I always wanted to make money in my sleep, you know, and it happened. So it's beautiful how the universe like curates things for you, not out of necessity, but also out of joy, right? Like kiddos are like, Mama, when can we go camping? It's just like, you know what? Let's go this weekend. No problem. So that was a tactic to then save up on that end, because I like to keep things separate from real estate, the business itself. And that then became the down payment for another property, which is also Airbnb. And I am very vocal about Airbnb on my stories on Instagram. So when the thing hit with like Airbnb restricted and all of this, I got so many DMs, Arpan, and people are like, well, how is that going to work out for you, Elisabeth, right now? And I was just like, all my Airbnbs, they're on a place where it did not get affected. And that is part of the abundance mindset. It's like when society, news, whatever is starting to talk about something that could affect you, it's how are you going to stay strong? How are you going to stay in your own lane and know things are going to work out for you? And it's not feeding them with, you know, feedback of like, oh, I hope it doesn't affect me. It's just like, oh, things are going to work out. You know, everything's on track. Yeah, it's one of the best things that has happened. Not only does it give me the opportunity to like obviously make an additional income, but it has given me the opportunity to teach my son how to already run an Airbnb business, and he's only 10 years old. This is something that school doesn't teach, and something that I very much took into my own hands of, look, if we can be financial literal as parents, why not hand it over as quickly as possible?
Yeah, you're right. They do not teach that in school. To produce, right, is everything. If you, and like you said, like people contacted you about when Airbnb came to Kelowna and how that affect you, and it just didn't hit your area. I hear this a lot, like, what are you gonna do when the market crashes or when it turns, or are you okay, or are you gonna be fine? Like, why would I do this now? La la. And it all kind of comes back to the same thing. Like, I would use kind of different words, right? But more or less, if you just know a ton of different ways, like if you know your industry, look, I can teach you a certain concept like 6 different ways, right? I can tell it to a third grader, I can tell it to a PhD level economist, like whatever, right? So if you just kind of know how to work in any environment, then no environment's scary. That's how I would put it, right? And so like it sounded like you were like, hey, it's all gonna work out. Like I have a skill set, I know how to run a business. Like if I have to pivot, I can pivot. That's kind of what I hear in your voice more than what you're saying. It's like, yeah, like if it comes, it comes, it'll be fine. We'll just adjust and move forward. Like that's kind of what I hear. Is that accurate?
Let's demonstrate it on the abundance mindset level. Okay, let's say you have the Airbnbs, the news is happening, and instead I come to you and I say, Arpan, I see a bunch of things happening with Airbnb. I know you have properties, but I'm looking forward to your pivot if it affects you. I'm looking forward to your shift. Like you inspire me so much. I want to see what you're going to do in this moment. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm ready to meet the challenge. Like, let's go.
Right? You're fired up. You have somebody believing in you. Now, in the moments with the abundance mindset where somebody comes to you with like, oh, what are you going to do? And more from that lack, scarcity question of like, oh, what are you going to do? They're helping you create your reality, right? So within that moment, a practice that I would love to gift the listeners on this podcast, and feel free to send me just a chat in my DMs on Instagram as well. And I'd love to share practices with you as well, is when you have responses like that, it's in your moment, you can change the narrative. You can have them deliver that, but deep down inside, they've just said to you, Elisabeth, this is happening in the area. I'm looking forward to your pivot. I'm looking forward to your shift. And that's what creates your own excitement within you, because you are the creator of what you receive and what you want to put out.
So if they DM you, what are they getting?
So with
Sorry?
Airbnb, for example, right? Like the restrictions came into play and we didn't know where it was going. So if somebody sends you the doubt of, well, what are you going to do with this? The market and all of this. So it's in those moments that you, as the aware and the abundance minds, that you have the power to shift that narrative, right? You can hear them say that, but what you are receiving is actually, hey, I'm looking forward to your pivot. I'm looking forward to see if that happens to you. I know you're going to propel. I know you're excelling one way or another, right? Because you need this, not that you need this energy, you can receive the energy, even though it might be slight negative, to where you're headed. Does that make sense?
No, I get the idea. I just wondered what the thing you were going to send them. That's all. I was just curious.
Oh, in the DMs. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like
I have a simple 7-step practice of abundance mindset that everybody can take into their day and start noticing these shifts coming up for them as well.
Okay, cool. Like a little guide or something.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. And then where can they find you?
On Instagram, Elisabeth with an S .Derksen.
Okay. Yeah, we'll add it to the links down below as well. Okay, cool. And so before we wrap up, we usually like to do a little attitude of gratitude around here. So what's something you're deeply grateful for right now?
The breath. I think it's one of our most luxurious possession. And when we come back to this, it's like, wow, it's never guaranteed, but still always there. So that is my gratitude of this moment. How about you?
I would say the like the ability to chase after a future version of myself in my life. I'm not, like my girlfriend's a nurse, and the amount of people that come into her ward who are like quadriplegic or lock-in syndrome, right? Who do not have the capability to like pursue their dreams the way they maybe once had. That makes me always remember that like I'm super lucky to even have the opportunity to chase my dream and to chase the person I want to be. Because not everyone has that. So that's what that's what I wake up with in the morning is like, yo, you get to do this. You don't have to do this.
Exactly.
So that's usually how I approach it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
So cool. So yeah, before we wrap up, just wanted to say thank you and thanks for coming on. We'll get this out and yeah, like look forward to seeing you around Kelowna. I'm sure they'll do another event and yeah, like can't wait to actually meet you in person out there.
Likewise, plan.
Cool. All right. Thank you for today. That's it for today's episode of Flippin' Freedom Pod. If this gave you clarity, confidence, or just one fire mindset shift, take a second to rate and review the show and send this to someone who needs to hear it. I'm Martell. This is where we flip more than houses, we flip lives. Ciao.